Cool. Well, let's rock and roll and talk about mental toughness. So a topic that, I think is extremely important with our athletes. Coming out of COVID, there was a lot of, just not being able to play, to finally being able to play, right? So looking at the mental skills and so forth. The goal out of today's presentation is to look at how we as strength and conditioning coaches can start to incorporate concepts of mental toughness into activities that we do every day, okay? Whether that's running, speed work, agility, conditioning, or even into the weight room. So hopefully out of today, we'll have the opportunity to understand what mental toughness really is, okay? And then how we can go about coaching it. Okay? All right, so looking at mental toughness, okay? Two questions that I have. And I want you to think about these questions. And again, we're not going to answer now, but just kind of think about it, just to kind of get a perspective in terms of where you are with the concepts of mental toughness. One, are you born with it? Right? And then two, is it trainable? Right? Hopefully we've been able to read different articles, books, and so forth, and see different concepts and topics on the ideas of mental toughness. And hopefully coming out of today, we'll get to understand that it is a trainable concept. Right? We're going to give you different activities that we can implement right away to be able to work with your athletes and help improve and train their mental toughness. All right. So I think first off, we've got to define what mental toughness is. But before we even do that, we've got to define what mental toughness is not. Okay? And I think too often, these are some things that we see. Right? So I wanted to define what mental toughness is. And so, of course, I went to Google, and these were the first things that came up. Right? Some of the first articles that popped up when we went onto a Google search looking at how do I define what mental toughness is years ago. Right? Now, if we start looking at this, and I want to highlight these, and again, there was more, right? And, some of them here, looking at the yellow one in the lower right corner. Another method of developing mental toughness in the weight room is to construct a workout routine where there is a nonstop movement for a certain amount of time. Okay? Sets and reps without and water breaks. Okay? I mean, this is crazy. Okay? To think that a workout alone is going to make me more mentally tough. Right? I think that's a common theme or common thought that occurs when we're talking about mental toughness, especially in a strength conditioning setting, is that if I put them through a hard workout, then they're going to become more mentally tough, right? And I'm going to challenge you in that because mental toughness really is situational based, okay? Just because you worked hard and pushed through a workout, does that mean when you're down one with a minute and a half left on the clock and there's 25,000 fans watching, are you going to be able to handle that type of pressure? Right? What does your confidence level look like? Right? What is that mindset? Right? What is that internal dialogue that's occurring within your brain? Right? Right? It may be different, right, than that workout. That pressure may have greater influence in that moment that didn't exist when we were doing our workout. Looking at some of the others, mental toughness is usually something you're born with, right, or develop early in life. Now, can your surroundings in that development have a integral part in that mental toughness buildup over the course of your life by the time they reach, us at 18, 19, 20 plus years old? Absolutely, okay? But it is definitely a concept that we can continue to develop, okay? It's hard to take a wuss and make him hardcore no matter what you do. I beg to differ. Okay? Again, these are concepts and skills that we're going to talk about here as we define what mental toughness is and start getting how do we actually train it. Okay. Now that the concept of the weight room, okay, and pushing hard in there, it's a concept of physical toughness. Okay. We're going to talk about different concepts, but I want to kind of, dispel that myth and get that out of the way here before we really dive into what mental toughness really is. Okay. So what is it? Okay. Now I've got a different research articles here and the only thing I want to do with these is highlight a few key concepts, right? So as you're looking through this and really start talking about, tough-mindedness in 57 and 01, 02, there's a lot more articles now starting to come out, but they're looking at these main components, right? And in there, we might see coping skills, right? Confidence, discipline. And as you come down into the 02 article, right? Focus, confident, determined, control under pressure, right? These are the same common themes that start picking out as we're defining what mental toughness is. And another article here in 02, right? Motivation, right? We'll talk about that today. Anxiety, thriving under pressure, right? A lot of them are the same. Right? Another one, fully focused, right? While we're in the present. How do we do that? What are some skills? Right? That's what we're going to cover in today's lecture here. Okay. And another one down here in 2007, I really like this framework because we can start to see that there's different skills that are going to be required while we're training, at practice, in the weight room, right? While we're at competition, post-competition. Right? So there's a lot of different things that are coming in at our athletes, right? Do they have the skills necessary to be able to be what we deem mentally tough? Right? We'll look at some of these skills today and some techniques that we can use to help improve those. Okay. So looking at Dr. Pat Ivey, Dr. Rick McGuire, and Dr. Amber Latner, and defining what they define a mentally tough athlete is. And they see that as an individual who is motivated, prepared, focused, and emotionally stable. Okay. And again, as we're looking at the full definition of mental toughness, there's not one specific. Right? Sometimes you may see this. You often see it referred to as grit. Okay? Some work that was done by Angela Duckworth. Right? And her definition is perseverance and passion to achieve long-term goals. Okay? So we start putting these together, right, and looking at an individual who is motivated, prepared, focused, stable, right, who can persevere. Right? If we go back to some of those research, a lot of these are the same key concepts. Right? And we look at as mental toughness as a set of skills that allow me to perform optimally. Again, keeping it simple, right? These mental toughness skills that will allow me to persevere, right? To achieve my long-term goals, to be motivated, prepared, focused, and emotionally stable will allow me to perform optimally. Now, what we as coaches want to do, right? We want to front load this. Okay? We want to put everything right up front, get it out there. We don't want to wait until that game where there's a minute and a half left on the clock, 25,000 fans sitting at a national championship game with that high level of pressure down one to be the time now. Oh, now we got to start implementing our mental toughness skill training. Right? Too late at that point. Right? So front load it, get it in as early as we possibly can. Okay, so some of these concepts that you'll see today, we've been working on now. I mean, as our spring sports get started, right, we've been working on all through the fall. As our fall teams now start coming into their training, as we get ready for their season next fall, right, we will start working on these concepts as well now to really front load them so that when the situation comes, we're ready to rock and roll. Okay? Now, 3 keys in developing our mental toughness. Okay? We'll go through each one of these. The first one being servant leadership. Okay. It's a critical piece, and that's the starting point. Okay. From there, we'll talk about our pillars of mental toughness. Okay. And then we'll look at what do we actually need to do? How can we analyze what do our athletes even need? Where are we? Where do we need more? Where do we need less? And then how can we intentionally develop that? I like this quote here by John Wooden. Right. It's not about what you teach. It's what you emphasize. And we always hear this concept, right? Mental toughness. You hear it buzzwords all across the game is 90% mental. How often do you work on it? I think too often, right? We work on the skills associated with the game, right? In our field, right? We'll work on the abilities, right? Strength, power, speed, agility. Right? We'll work on that piece. But there's that final piece of the equation. That's that mental piece, that mental toughness piece that equals optimal performance. Right? We challenge you that we've got to get more of this in. Now, I'm not a sports psychologist. Okay? So we're bringing it from the coach's side of things and different articles and books that I've read to help bring this to our athletes to the best of my ability as a coach. Okay? Because where we are, and probably a lot of places, you're not going to have a sports psychologist on staff. And I'm not going to say that I am one, but I can work on some of these basic skills to help our athletes with their mental development. Okay. So looking at servant leadership, and we have 2 studies done here in 2008. Okay. One looked at college athletes and how they perceive their coach. When they perceive them as a servant leader, okay, there was a higher level of mental toughness. Okay. And again, you can see the other one here with high school athletes. Both of them, right, when the servant leadership concepts, which are listed here, right, were in play, and that's how they saw their coaching staff, okay, there was a higher level of mental toughness. So you as a coach, right, must bring this servant leadership concept. Remember, right, it's a relationship game. Okay, what we do, right, I oversee 21 teams in the groups that I work with, right, creating relationships is critical, right, to their commitment to our program. Right? If we want them to train and work and do what we want them to do, right, having these high quality relationships is extremely important. Okay? And I think being a servant leader really helps develop these great relationships. So again, that's the start, right? Starting as a servant leader yourself, right, before we start implementing concepts with our athletes. All right, now the nuts and bolts here, really diving into this concept of mental toughness. All right, so looking at these 8 pillars. Again, now these are 8 pillars that I feel are extremely important to the skills that we as a strength coach can really implement into our programming. Again, in the weight room or out on the field with our speed, agility, conditioning work that we may be doing. Okay, so the first one is awareness. Now there's multiple types of awareness. Okay, now we're gonna hone in here on 2, right? With this one here, we're gonna really talk about the mental awareness, right? And these are the thoughts that we have, right? And what that ends up being, it ends up being a mindset, okay? And all a mindset is just a pattern way of thinking, okay? Right? So what are the thoughts? What is the pattern way of thinking that we have in any given situation? Going back to the one that we had talked about, right? There's a minute and a half left. We're down 1, 25,000 fans. What's your mindset like? Are we, oh no, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm hesitant, I'm not confident? Are those some of the words or ideas or pictures that are coming into my head? So, right, we got to figure out, how do we then impact that, right? Understanding awareness being one, because we have to be aware of these thoughts first before we can start changing them. Now, nobody's 100% perfect. I'm not, right? Nobody is. We're going to have these thoughts, we can say I call them negative thoughts or not thoughts directed in the right direction. But the critical piece is being aware of when that's happening and then how do we get out of it? That's going to be one of the skills we talk about here in just a second of how do we get out of these thought processes and get them into better mindset. Okay. Right. And the other one we're going to talk about here at the end is an emotional awareness, right? Talk about emotions and how do we handle and control our emotions. Okay. Because I think you see it a lot. Emotions tend to win out sometimes. Okay. And usually what happens, these thoughts, they'll precede our emotions. However, our emotions will show first, right? We don't use the skill set, right, of pressing pause, which we'll talk about here in just a second, to really help with some of our emotional management. All right. So again, the definition of awareness and really looking at that mental awareness is this mindset, pattern way of thinking. Now, what this is it's a response, right? It's a response to the situation. Right? So we get into this concept of E plus R equals O, right? Which we'll dive into as we go. But first, a question that I have for you in terms of your mindset, and I want you to really dive in and think about this. Do you hit snooze in the morning? Okay, so you've woken up, alarm goes off. Do you hit snooze? And my question to you is why? Right? Well, I don't want to get up. I'm tired. Right? What's your mindset? Okay. Do you have that mindset where I get to, this is personally for mine, do I get to impact, influence, and inspire greatness today? Right? As soon as that alarm goes off, it's game on. Right? I get to impact, right, anybody that I come in contact, now majority of who I work with every single day is between 18 and 23 years old, right? But whether it's staff, right, faculty, it doesn't matter, right? Right from the get-go, when that goes off, this is what I get to do today, okay? Working on being in the present, right? So again, I challenge you, right? Tomorrow, if you are a snoozer, right, get up, put your feet on the floor. Hey, you get to attack the day, right? Today, you create that, right? Now, there's some other physiological things that can happen, with sleep-wise and fatigue as it relates to hitting snooze and trying to go back to bed and REM cycles, right? But again, we're talking about the mental piece, right? I want you to focus on attacking the day and being great right from the get-go, right? Again, this will come into concepts related to confidence, right? It all builds up together. All right, so creating this great mindset, the first thing that needs to happen is you got to have a great attitude, okay? Your attitude towards whatever it is you get to do that day, that's paramount. First and foremost, right? Again, that's the mindset that we created. It was the first thing that we did as soon as we hit, the alarm went off, right? And then it continues as I'm driving to work or as soon as I'm arriving to work, I'm walking into the weight room. What is my attitude? Okay? Now, with this whole entire thing, it is a choice. I choose every day what my attitude is. Okay? Nobody else is going to choose for me. It is me, and that's it. So, what attitude am I going to choose? Well, let's get after it, right? I could worry about or be concerned about all the negatives, right? Our weight room is we don't have the largest weight room. We don't have the best equipment. We don't have this. We don't have that. What are we going to do? Right? Again, what's happening? What's my mindset? Right? And then how does that, as the coach, how does that move on to the athlete? Right? Things just aren't good enough. Again, change it right from the beginning, right? Set that attitude. And then the concept of E plus R equals O. So looking from the focus 3 group, event plus response equals outcome. Okay? And remember, mindset is a response. It's a response to an event that has happened, right? And we have events that happen all day, every day, right? And some of them are tough situations, right? You've got a phone call and it changed your time and now you're running a few minutes behind. And so now that's going to affect your weight room setup and so forth, right? All right, how do I respond to that? That's my choice, right? And that impacts my attitude, right? And that impacts my mindset that I have. I get to choose that every single day. Okay? I like this concept, right? It all revolves around the mindset, right? The attitude I select impacts the behaviors that I have, right? My behaviors impact my actions impact my results impact my performance impacts my attitude, right? It's a cyclical concept, right? And it starts right there in the middle. What is your mindset, right? Because that's going to impact the attitudes and so forth as we continue. Right? Critical piece here. Okay? And looking at this concept, the R factor, E plus R equals O. What is that all about? Okay. This is where a set of skills is going to really help us really attack the mindset. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces and that self-talk that some of our athletes may struggle with. Okay. With this concept, right, before we do the skills, right, you cannot blame, complain, or defend. We got to get rid of that altogether. Because that is automatic. If you're blaming somebody, complaining about something, or defending something else, right? What is that mindset? Right? It's negative right from the beginning, right? So let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of the BCDs, okay? Right away. Okay? Right. Now, some things, again, going back into the awareness piece with this and looking at our mindset, right? And getting everybody on the same page is a critical piece when we're in with a team. Right? You're working with not just an individual, you've got a whole entire group. Okay. So I love this concept, and I'll show you here on the next slide some of ours that we've actually done, right? And it's very simple. We just draw a line on the board, right? And then what are our thoughts, right? We want above the line thoughts and behaviors, and then we want below the line thoughts and behaviors, right? And I think it's important that both are seen. Right? And why that's important is, as a teammate, I see somebody who is below the line, whether that's a thought or behavior, I need to say something to them, right? And we'll talk about some motivation in terms of what are our vision and our values and our standards, right? And all of that is a piece that helps towards that. We're all trying to go in the same direction. We all want to be great, right? And some people, they want to win a national championship, right? And these outcome-based concepts, right? But we want to be great in what we do, right? And if we're below the line in our thoughts and behaviors, right, how will that impact our results, right? Just go back to the slide a few slides ago, right? And we can see that having that mindset, right, and how that affects my behaviors and my actions, right, ultimately impacting my results in a negative way. So again, we on the whiteboard, we draw the line, and now we're doing this as part of our main lift. Okay. And you say, whoa, is that crazy? No, this is our superset. Why not? Okay. We have adequate rest, right? We actually have 2 whiteboards in our room. And so we'll draw the line, and we want to see what are just general above the line responses and thoughts, and what are our below the line responses and thoughts. Right? And any words that you can think of, write them down. And then we'll continue through our workout. As the workout finishes up, we'll come back to this board and actually start taking a look at it. Right? And now, again, these are generalized, right? What we're actually going to do then is we can actually make them more specific. Right? We call them e-sheets. Okay? And that's what's on the right here. Okay, so getting a little bit more defined with it. What does it look like when we're above the line on a road game? Right? We're on the bus. Right? We're prepping for the game. We're in the locker room, right? You can break this down however you want. Okay? And we give the above the line and the below the line. And obviously, from a mindset standpoint, we want to see the above the line actions and responses, okay, and thoughts. Okay? The only way we're going to do that is if it's spelled out. Okay? Spell it out. Okay? Gives us a great opportunity here to work on these concepts within our training. Okay, so you can see our e-sheets. Okay, so again, they're just event sheets. So this is the event. And you can see as we went through these, again, do you have to do the whole entire day in one session? No, this could have been, this was with basketball. So I believe this was over multiple sessions. We just kept the whiteboard up there, and then we could fill in over the course. I think they were lifting 3 days a week. So this might have been about 2 weeks worth of work that we were working on during our time. Okay? So again, in the morning, for our practice day versus a game day, what does it look like in the morning, right? Midday, right? And again, we want to see both the above the lines and the below the line responses. Right? Now, just so you can read it a little bit easier, okay? What does it look like pre-practice and then at practice? Right. Again, this is something that we then printed out, gave to the athletes so that they would have, keep it with them, put it in their locker, something that they can refresh back to. And again, remember what John Wooden said, right? It's what we emphasize, not just what we teach, right? So I could just sit here, teach them this and go, but now I've got to continue to emphasize it. Okay? And I think this was a few years ago, and, there's times where even I would give the below the line response. And sometimes it was intentional, and sometimes it's not, right? But I remember this specific one where I gave it an intentional below the line response. And one of the athletes said, "Matt, that's below the line." And I thought, yes, okay. Something that we've done from an emphasized standpoint has stuck, right? Who knew, right? And it came out and said, "Yep, you're right. That was a below the line response. Got to change." And I appreciate you holding me accountable. Right? Again, that goes back to that relationships. They understand that, Matt may screw up as well. And again, it's okay, but he changes mindset and reattacks. Right? So they can see that. Right? They helped in that. Right? So if they're willing to do it to me, are they willing to do it with their teammate? And if they are, that's when we're getting greatness. Okay? All right. So now what happens? How do we respond? Right? So we're looking at this E plus R equals O. We just had this event. Right? We're in that minute 30. Okay? Down 1. 25,000 fans watching. Right? We're the athlete. Right? These are the skills. Press pause. Okay? This is a time we can gain clarity. Right? Get your mind right. Right? Start focusing on the self-talk. Okay? Now, the more we do some of these, the quicker and faster they'll come. Right? As we'll talk more about some of our pillars here. Right? We'll look at some of our routines. Some of our routines are designed specifically to help us press pause and get our mind right. So we can start integrating the pillars together. Okay? Right? We want to step up. We want to make the R, or your R makes all the difference, right? Because that response dictates the outcome. Okay? We want to adapt and adjust, right? We said don't blame the E, change the R, right? Change the response. Remember, it's your choice how you respond. Okay? Make a difference, right? Your R is another person's E. Right. And I think this one here, right, this is something that as we're talking about this, right, your R is another person's E. Okay. So if I am negative in how I'm responding or reacting, right, if it's very emotional, it's tend to be a reaction, right, how does that affect the next person? Again, we want a team of leaders. Right? We don't have just two leaders who are captains. No, we have a team of leaders. Right? So each person leads the next person. Right? And if I'm looking over and I'm seeing that, either one, I'm going to make the change for that individual and help them grow, or my E starts to change. And oh man, this captain or this team leader, this senior is stressed. I can see it. Oh no, how does that now affect me? Okay? So remember that. It's an important piece, right, to communicate this with your athlete. Okay? And then grow from it. Okay? Continue to grow from it. Okay? Again, have a loss or a goal given up, right? Things that we want to look at is how can we extract a lesson, right? That happens in our pause. Okay? Goal just happened, press pause, right? Get my mind right. What do I need to do, right, to attack, right? To be great in this moment. Okay? Commit the memory, right? Forgive yourself, move forward. Okay? Again, these six pieces, they'll come back again here. This is our mindset, right? Press pause, get your mind right. Okay? Now, how can we do these? Right? Our routines are great. Okay. For example, you're getting ready to lift, right? You've got, you're running 4 sets of 3, pretty heavy. Okay. What is your mind when you step up to the rack? Are we just kind of there, not thinking about anything, right? We're just, where are we? I don't even know where we are sometimes, some people. Right? So use our routine, right, to press pause. Okay. Gain clarity. Think about what's about ready to happen, right? I'm getting ready to step in for 3 reps, right? I'm using 85% of my 1 rep max, right? I want to be dialed in. I'm starting to think about how does my body feel, right? Going back into some of those other awareness pieces, right? Before I start my movement. Right? My mind is right. I'm confident in what's going to happen, right? Now I step up and go. Use those times, use the weight room to your advantage, right? Same thing running. Okay? I love having our athletes chat back and forth in our recovery. So if we're doing a walk back, let's say we're working on speed for the day and we're walking back, I want you to talk with each other, right? Slow, right? Pace back as we get our full recovery, right? And talk. Because when you step back up to the line, it's a great time for us to use this concept. Press pause, get your mind right. All right, get ready to attack this sprint again, right? Think about maybe a cue that I gave them had to deal with shin angle and acceleration. Okay, well, I want them to press pause, right? Get their mind right. Think about that angle of acceleration, right? And let's work on those first 2 to 3 steps, right? Getting them quick. Again, we've got to teach it. It's great. Again, this is that front loading. So now as we're getting into that game and things are starting to get challenging or again, whatever the event may be, right, we have the necessary skill set, right, to get started on it. Right? Now, like I said, it's situational. As a strength coach, I'm not going to be out on the field, right, being able to, while they're playing, to go through this. but hopefully we can transition with our coaching staff, right, to utilize these concepts as well as everybody else that's out there, right? Every single athlete who's involved in this can use this concept, right? If I see it with another athlete, hey, press pause, let's go, mind right, let's get it going. And boom, that might be that one little thing, or there's a go call or whatever it is that you think or works with your team. Let them decide, right? Let them have some autonomy in it. That way they buy into it even greater. All right, moving out of our awareness and our mindset, moving into motivation now. Okay, and I think the very first thing is a positive experience, right? That motivates everyone. Right. I always talk about a class that you hated in school. Right. We all have it. Right. We all have one that we and I'm thinking of mine right now, and I know exactly what it is. It was undergrad. It was women's studies. Gosh, that class. That was a tough class, right? And so now compare that and your thoughts and your experiences that you had with that class with the best class that you ever had. Okay. The most exciting class, the fun class that you love to go to every single day, right? One, you never missed that class, right? You were probably early, right? You were excited, right? Everything about your mindset was game on for that class. A lot different for the class you hated. So what does that mean? Right? The experience that professor was able to create, right, was an experience that I absolutely loved. And that motivates me. Right? So go create that experience. Right? That's your job as the coach, to create this amazing experience for your athlete every single day. Again, that's your attitude as a coach. That's where you start. Right? And again, it feeds into them. Okay, so that's the first. Okay? And the second here, or the next few here, is the intrinsic drive. Okay? Some people don't have it. They don't have an intrinsic drive. Okay? Again, there's some things that we can do to work on that. Why do you play the game? Right? You can see some of the sheets that we go through here, right? And simple question, why do you play the game? A lot of people have never asked that. Right? They've never been asked it. Right? And so they don't really know. Right? And again, as we start asking, that this may start driving, right, some of this intrinsic drive. And what motivates you daily? What motivates you to get out of bed, to come here to school, to come to our lift sessions, to come to practice every single day? And you know what? It's different for everybody. Right? We have this bell curve, right? Diffusion of innovation, right? And you have your early adopters and your innovators. They're right up front, right? Those are in the weight room, and those athletes. Those are the ones who are gung ho, will run through a wall. Like those. We love those athletes, right? You don't have to do it. They're just in it. Right? And then you have like the middle to late adopters, right? That the bell curve, the majority, right? You might typically hear this as like a 10-80-10 concept, and you have that majority, right? And you have that last 10%. Those are like the laggers. You know, they're the last in the weight room, last to do anything, basically, really, when it comes down to it. You can see their body language, right? It's evident, right, that they don't want to be there. Okay. Again, it's our job as coaches, I think, right, to really help. Again, I get to impact, influence, and inspire greatness. I got to figure you out, and every single one of them are different from the next. So I need to know what motivates you. Right? We also ask, tell me a trait that your most favorite coach had, right, that you loved the most. What was one of the traits that they exhibited, right, when coaching? And I think at the end here, we got to find the greater purpose. Okay. And through our greater purpose, what we're looking at here is our vision and our mission. What's your why? Why do you do what you do? Okay. As an individual athlete, do you have it? As a coach, do you have it? Mine is to impact, influence, inspire greatness in everybody in which I come in contact with daily. Okay. That's it. Right? Now, what values do I have? They're going to help guide my day. The standards that I'm going to set around that are going to help guide my day. Right? And a lot of that, again, really comes around. Attitude is one of my values. Right? Again, these are things. And again, now we want to set some of this as a team. Right? Do the teams in which you work with, do they have a vision? Right? Do they have a mission? right? Do they have values? Okay. An easy way to go about finding values. What does it mean for us? What does it mean to be a Salisbury University women's lacrosse player? In 3 to 5 words, right? What does it mean? Okay. And if we can list that, okay, as a team, then we know what our values are. We know, right, what drives us every day to be the best women's lacrosse team in the country. Okay. But if we don't, and as we go through this, some of our answers, it's interesting. We have a team of like 40 athletes, and we usually get 2 to 3 times the amount of different words when we first start this. Right? So, you're looking at 120 different words. So what does that mean? Your athletes don't even know what it means to be a whatever school player. Right? So we got to align first, right? And again, that's going to help with some of this motivation. Okay, that we're all directed in the same direction, right? With the same vision, right? The same mission is about how we're going to go about doing this every single day. Okay. And then our values. Okay. And so what this may look like, and this was one that we had with our football program, right? That our vision, it's the greater purpose. We're a unified brotherhood, striving for greatness in all aspects, right? How are we going to do that every single day? We're going to be committed, positive, hardworking, and have a never give in mindset. And then we want to love the game, the process, and each other. And again, our values here are going to help drive that. And our standards are then going to say, okay, what does that look like in the weight room? What does love for the process look like in the weight room? What does it look like when we're out in the field? Right? Again, we're going to define them just like we did with our e-sheets. Right? We're going to start to define these, and hopefully we can use this to help gain some of that motivation to become the best we possibly can every single day. Okay? All right, next part, confidence. Okay. Again, confidence is a choice, right? Again, part of it comes back into our mindset. And the other piece with this confidence, although it may be a choice, the question that you have to look at is, have you done everything necessary to be great today? Unfortunately, a lot of people can't answer that question and say, I've done it all. I have done everything that it's my possibility to do to be in this situation right now, right? Minute and a half left, down 1, right? Give me the ball. I've done everything that I can do to be in this moment right now and create greatness. At the end of the day, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? It happens, right? We miss the goal, right? Turnover, it may happen, right? But I'm going to be confident in what I do. Okay? Again, that's part of that mental piece. Okay, so we look at it in 5 pillars. Okay, the 5 pillars of preparation, lifting, running, playing the game, nutrition, and recovery. And what we say is these 5 things are the 5 things that you need to do to be the best athlete, right, that you could become. Now, obviously, here in college, we have school, and that's got to be part of it, right? But these are the 5 things to be the best athlete, right? And so we use these sheets, right? These are weekly commitment tracker sheets, right? You can see the standards down the left-hand side, right? And athletes filling out where they sit, right? Using Jeff Jansen's commitment scale, okay, from book Commitment Continuum. Again, writing them down. And again, what we'll see is sometimes, you know what, man, my nutrition today was just off. Like on Monday, like, man, I was watching Monday Night Football. Okay, that's fine. Fix it in your commitment goals for the following week. Okay, what do I need to do to make that better? Okay, to be the best me that I can be every single day, so that I can impact everybody else. Okay. Again, we define these, and again, do all of our teams do this? No, it's a revolving door, right? Every year we've got kids out, kids in. And so some aren't even this far, right? And some may never get this far. These are the challenges. Okay. So this was me. This is a picture of me. And I want to bring this story in. And, I was a college baseball player who played at Attentional University. And in my first 3 years, I played 7 innings. And I redshirted my first year. I played no innings my second year. And my third year, I played 7. Right. And I remember the coach coming to me after and said, "Matt, why'd you stick around?" And I said, well, for me, like, I just love the game, right? I love being around the game. It didn't matter. As long as I was around the game of baseball, I was happy, right? And so my mindset was, hey, just love the game, right, from the start. Right? But then my confidence, and one of the things that for me that I felt that I did well, and feedback that I got was that I'm a very hard worker, right? I took the things that I could control, my strength, my power, and my conditioning, and figure out what do I need to do to be the best in those, and then the skill work related around the game. And so I did it. I wanted to play. I accepted the role that I was in, but I wasn't happy with that role of being a guy who doesn't get to play a lot. And so I got after it, and in the weight room, doing drills. And I got an opportunity now in my redshirt junior year, and I took a no-hitter into the 7th inning against a local rival. Got a victory, and then about a week and a half later, we're walking off the bus at a perennial top 25 team in the country, and coach says to me, "Matt, you got game 2 today." This was against UNC Chapel Hill, which is a huge game for us, and have the opportunity to go out there and throw a complete game shutout for the first 132 games that they'd been shut out. Right? It became the number 4 starter opening day my senior year and team captain. Right? My confidence, I think, was high. Right? And again, mindset, attitude, directed in the right direction. All right. We'll move here a little bit quicker through a couple of these, but looking at intensity management, I'll let you watch this video here. Some of us, intensity, arousal, that might be us, but others might be the picture in the middle here where we're relaxed. Okay. But we have this performance pressure concept over here where if our arousal is too high, right, we might be anxious, and that could impact performance. Right? If we're too low, it could impact performance as well. Right? So what we're trying to find is, in this concept of how does the athletes manage intensity every given day when you're in that situation? What is your arousal like? Right? What gets you fired up? What doesn't? Right? How does that impact performance? Right? Can we figure that out as a coach? Can I be super hype and one day and maybe just low key another day and see how that impacts? Why not? Right? See what that does. Or can I watch my athletes and see what happens with them? Sure, absolutely. Or we can start this fun little game, okay, called Biz Buzz. Okay, so we play a game called Biz Buzz, and again, you can use any number. For example, let's say you 7 and multiples of 7, and so most athletes, you'd be surprised, like their math game isn't quite on. And what ends up happening is, we play this game as part of the introduction of how do we handle pressure. And so they get in a group. So let's say they're a group of 5. And let's say 6 and our number is 7 and multiples of 7. So every time 7 comes up, you got to say biz and replace the 7. And then anytime it's a multiple of 7, you got to say buzz, right? So it'd be 1, 2, and we go around the circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 biz, right? The next person has to say the next number, 8. And all of a sudden we're doing all right until we get into like the 20s. And then all of a sudden you got, 5 other people looking at you to say the right number so that you don't have to start over. Right? Now we're competing with this, right? So we do this thing called the Iron Sammy where each team competes against the other. Okay. And so my team is competing against every other, let's say, male team that is in the spring semester, right? So if it's men's lacrosse and track and field, baseball, right? So they're all competing. So we want to get the highest number possible, right? So that we can win the trophy that we have. And so there's a high level of pressure, and you don't want to be the guy who screws up and gets made fun of or whatever it may be. So all of a sudden, right, high pressure is now coming in. Can we use the concept, right, of press pause, right? Get your mind right, attack the situation, right? You're better off going through your math facts and taking time than having to start all the way back over at 1. But what ends up happening when we do this, again, we don't tell them what numbers it is, and they just have to go. And so they don't know their math facts really. Without the pressure, they'd be fine. But all of a sudden, this adds up. It makes it more complicated. Right? So we go back into this, right? Now, all of a sudden, right, from a performance standpoint, we're, anxious and our arousal's high and stress is high, right? And our performance breaks down. So again, why not use this game? Change it up, change up the numbers, right? But it's a good way to introduce the concept, right? All right, attentional control. This is focus, okay? Focusing on being present and being positive in the moment, okay? I love the picture over here on the right with the distraction control, being able to focus. And I think the game of basketball and free throw shooting is probably the one aspect, or at least one of the aspects. There might be other sports that are out there, but when we go through our routine, right, it might be 3 dribbles, spin the ball, right, look at the hoop and shoot. If that's my routine, right, it's my focus to be in the moment, right, on this shot. I'm not looking at the guy in the background with whatever he's wearing or shaking of the arms or whatever's going on behind me, right? Because obviously that would distract me, and I probably miss a lot of the times. Right? So this concept is using a routine to stay in the moment, to focus on the present. Right? Routines are an important piece to really, again, press pause, get our mind right, and get back into the present. Okay? So we use this game. It's called the Tower of Hanoi. Right? And what we're trying to figure out here is what's most important right now, right? The present. Okay. And so I actually had this game as a kid, this wooden one, and I had no idea what it was. We were just moving things around, just going through it. And so we started to get this concept. We wanted to bring it into our athletes. And this is what it looks like. You've got your plate stack and you have 3 boxes. We have boxes on the floor for our ladder. And what we're trying to do is get this entire stack into the 3rd box. There's 2 rules. You can't put a big plate on top of a little plate, and you can only move 1 plate at a time. Okay? Now, normally when I've done this presentation, we do it live. We get out there and we get after it, right? So it makes it even more, right? Pressure is now added in as well, because now you got, however many audience members are there watching you. We also do it in small groups. So again, there's a little bit more distraction, right? Where I'm hearing this person say, move this one, no, move that one, move this one, right? What do I do, right? Who do I listen to? Again, press pause, get your mind right, and attack what we're getting ready to do, okay? So in this example here, we look at the end. If I want to put, right, and you look at the wooden picture here, if I want to put that last one on the far side, right, then I have to work backwards from there, right? Because that very first move is the most critical. If it is wrong, the whole thing is wrong, right? And we'll spend extra time, right, trying to get to this result, right? And, the athletes, they'll try to trick me up and say, okay, well, you do it. And I said, well, put them wherever you want. Right? I guarantee you this concept of focusing in the moment and what's most important right now, being present, I will be able to figure this out very quickly. Right? And again, they do it. I miss it. And how do you do it? It's just being in the moment. What's the most important move is the next one, right? Just like out on the field, right? As a baseball player, right? Most important is the next pitch. Okay. I can't be dwelling on what happened or what just happened or the home run that I gave up. And I still remember one, and that ball might still be flying in Maine. But again, you got to get back in, right? Because if I'm dwelling on it, what's the next pitch going to look like? That one too is going to be over the fence. Again, a great activity and game to start focusing on in the present, right? And they have a lot of fun with it. And again, pressure starts to pick up, and we can get it done. I think I've done it in like about 28, 29 seconds. And a lot of our groups are about in a minute, minute and a half, upwards of 5 to 6 minutes. Again, so you set this up. We might do this right off the bat. Again, most of our groups are going to be done within 2 to 3 minutes. And then usually those last groups, I'm starting to push them along and help them out, right? And we're using them as an example for other people to learn. I'll go through it, get our mind right, and then have them go out at the end of the session, maybe redo it again, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 they get it moving. Right? Some other things that we can do, concentration grids. Right? Start a clock, right? You got to scratch off every number starting at 00, right? And move all the way up to 99. Now, the concept here is focus on the number you're looking for. Don't remember where 2 and 3 are, right, when you're still trying to look for number 1, because that'll actually slow you down, right? You can start changing the concepts, louder music, right? Different distractions, right? To help your athletes focus in the moment. And remember, mindset is everything. We just want to pull that back. Mindset is everything. We go back to this emotional management concept now, right? Remember, our emotions tend to win out compared to our thoughts, okay? So what are some of the negative emotions that we may see? Anger, frustration, right? These are things that'll come out, and this does not a good picture here, right? We're trying to figure out what's the cause, right? What emotions are coming out. Right? And what we want to use is the concept of E plus R equals O, right? And press pause, right? Gain clarity, right? Change, focus my mindset, and attack what we're getting ready to do. Okay? Right? Use it, right? This is the critical skill, I think, that is important to help with these pieces, okay? Some things that we can do as coaches: guided imagery, visualization, okay? I think these are some of the things when we talk about mental skills development that we see a lot of. So I'm not going to talk a lot about it. But things, if you are doing some visualization and guided imagery, use sight, sounds, feels, taste, and smell, right? Get deep, right? Get deep with that. Right? So that, again, once we're in the situation, we've already been there. Right? We've been in that. We know what it smells like. We know what it feels. What does that do to confidence? I've already been there. I've been there in my head, and I was successful, right? I know what I need to do to be successful. And then last here, routines, right? Routines, right, are going to really help us, right, in terms of this response versus reaction, okay? Right? This is your press pause, right? Go through your routine. That helps get your mind right so that you can perform at your best. Try to get away from this reaction, right? The emotional piece. Okay. All right, so I appreciate it. I thank you guys for coming. If there's any questions, I'll end my slide here and see if we can get I'll end my show and see if I can get any questions that are up. So stop sharing. So feel free, again, if you have any questions, if you want to throw them into the chat, I'll be happy to answer them the best that I can. Hopefully we had some, there's a few take homes here that we can start implementing into our training as coaches. And again, we want it to be intentional. Okay? Be intentional with what we're doing. So questions? None? Killed it. Well, I appreciate it. Again, I appreciate the IUSCA for having me on, and as well as Teambuildr. Okay. All right. So how would you deal? Question that came up here. How would you deal with self-sabotagers when they are at the lowest? And to where I'm assuming they're trying to negatively impact others. I don't know if that's the right culture that we have, right? We gotta dive back into these individuals. Should they be part of our team, right? Now they might be the best athlete, but at the end of the day, again, this is where we need to communicate with the head coaching staff and have that great relationship on that end. Where if you're having an athlete who wants to sabotage their performance, I don't know how that buys into the vision, the mission, the values, right? And ultimately, that's the culture. And so I think that's why when we front loaded on that end, these people don't last. And they don't last because the others don't let them, right? We have athletes that may come late to a session. It's not me who has to say anything, right? Our vision, mission, values, and standards uphold that, and it's the athletes who will uphold that because they want to be great and they understand that these are critical pieces to becoming great. So I think that would be, in my case, if I'm seeing that, right, I think we're starting all the way back at the beginning and really diving back into that, and we might have to do it on an individual basis first as we move. Okay. Andrew said, do you have any athletes that deal with motivation or depression, and how do you manage them? Again, yeah. So I would say definitely from the motivation. And again, obviously you're going to have the depression pieces. And I think that's more that psychologist comes into play, and me recognizing it maybe as a coach, but definitely motivation where they're, and it gets hard. You see it, especially for us as strength coaches in weeks 4, 5, 6. We've been grinding, now for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And so what, what motivates me at that point? That's my job as the coach to recognize that, right? I've got to change that. I've got to adjust. I've got to adapt. I know it's going to happen. This is my piece as an awareness from a coaching standpoint, is I need to change the way in which I coach as we progress on, right? Now think about it from a coaching standpoint, right? Early on, I might be heavily involved in coaching the technique, right? As we progress, I might be coaching the athlete a little bit more, right? And I don't want to say be a hype man, right? But I might be coaching the athlete a little bit more as we move on, right? To try to create some of that arousal, that excitement. I may not be like setting these high spikes, but just giving them some I don't know, jazz, right? Some excitement, right? So again, yeah, you're going to have them, and some are tough. I remember I had a women's basketball player, and her very first session, she said, "I don't like the weight room. Like, I hate it." I said, "Cool. I can guarantee you by the time you leave, you're going to absolutely love it." And she's like, "No." I mean, she was dead serious. Like, no. And her junior year, she wanted to buy one of our t-shirts. Was asking, where can I get one? Because she started to fall in love with what we were doing. And I think it helped impact her performance. And again, it's at the end of the day, my job is to impact, influence, and inspire. I can't necessarily change their mindset, right? I'm trying to impact it. I'm trying to influence it, right? But I can't change it. They have to, right? Again, remember, it's a choice. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it says here, Casey said, "Did you end up being a captain?" Yes, I was a captain at baseball. Again, it started from playing 7 innings to moving, to a captain's role. Again, I want to believe that my mindset was correct. The issue, one of the issues that I have from a leadership standpoint, I was always told that I was a great leader because I led by example, and unfortunately, I don't know if people came with me. Right? I worked hard, and that's all it was. It was hard work. I wish I would have brought more people along. Whole nother story in terms of leadership. Right? Do you find rewards or punishments are more effective? I don't use either, to be honest with you. Our vision, mission, values, and standards of greatness kind of uphold everything, right? So again, if and we let the athletes, right? This brings the autonomy in. If the athletes want to be great, right? And so again, it's how do you proceed the conversation? And I'll start off and say, okay, raise your hand. Let's say we're a top 10 team in the country. Raise your hand if you want to win a national championship next year. And again, they're all outcome based. Raise your hand if you want to win a conference championship. Raise your hand if you want to be better than you were last year, whatever it is, right? And there's not one hand that goes up. Right. So what that means to me is that they want to be great. Right. My job is to help provide the tools for them to be great. Okay. And so that's where they now say, you tell me, like from a standard standpoint, what does, let's say one of your values is effort. Okay. And that's what the team has decided, that yes, to be a Salisbury University football team, we're a team of effort. Okay, what does that look like in the weight room? You define it as an athlete. I'm not going to define it for you. You guys define it. And again, remember, standards are the minimal expectation that we want to see in the weight room. Okay? So you define it, you set it, and then again, all of a sudden, it becomes the team leads it, and I don't know if I've ever punished anybody. I mean, if the guy will come in late, and I'll say, hey, is that okay? Are you guys okay with this individual coming in late? Is that a championship mindset or championship attitude? Is that an attitude or an action of greatness? And they'll say, hey, gotta go. right? That's not how it rolls around here. And guys like, and they move. Sometimes it's, well, I'm coming from a class or something along that line. Okay. Now it might be, okay, what's a better way to go about doing this? Do I need to kick them out at that point? Absolutely not. Yes, Chris, absolutely. Communication is huge. Do I need to kick them out? No, they need to understand that a better scenario would have been have communicated and texted me ahead of time and let me know that your class changed, or, and again, sometimes they forget, right? There's a lot going on in their life, right? Is it worth it for me? That's what I got to weigh. What does my, again, response, what does that do for the outcome? Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one here. Casey says, how do you deal with an athlete that is overwhelming the best on the team and unfortunately acts that way? They end up being that cancer to the team, even though they are the best. That's a tough one, right? I mean, at some point, like, I don't make the decision of who's on the team or who isn't. I've seen it. I've seen it in teams, and some of the decisions that what I have the capability of doing, is how we group some of our athletes, who they're grouped with. And again, at the end of the day, we watch the spread, right? Do we want that to spread? Obviously, no. Right. And so now I'm a management control, I guess. Right. And we try to organize who that is. And so maybe two like people are put together. And so there might be, right, because you're always going to have that. Remember that the 10-80-10, you're always going to have that bell curve. There's always going to be people on the top end. There's always going to be people on the bottom end. Now, they're going to look different from team to team, but you're always going to have that. And so how we organize things, our control, like, we have the ability to really impact that. And again, sometimes you do need to communicate and talk with those individuals because that's where it's gotten to, especially knowing that they have such a huge impact on other people who are looking up to them because of their greatness or their abilities, right? And so the conversations are maybe difficult, but usually when you pull them aside and, start getting real, like, things start to change. But sometimes I think we're afraid to do that, unfortunately. Mike said here, can the slides be emailed? Yes, I'll type my email in here and I'll be more than happy to share them. I think it's on my name there as well. So I'll send that in. Yeah, accountability buddies. There's a lot of different things that can be done, to really help with this. And the biggest thing hopefully we got out of today is really understanding some of the basic skills that we can work on, using the concept of E plus R equals O, and the 6 concepts related to that. And then some activities start to incorporate the concepts of pressure, the concepts of motivation, confidence, working on our routines and how we can incorporate our routines into our general training so that we are front loading this concept so that when we do get to those situations where mental toughness is called upon, we understand the ability, the skills, and what's necessary to get into that right mindset. So, yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, again, I'll stay on until they're done. I appreciate you guys coming on, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email me. I'll be happy to help out any way I can.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. That was really great. We don't often go in depth into a lot of those areas as strength coaches. I think we're often focused on exercises, programming, periodization, all of that kind of stuff, and we end up having arguments about all those aspects and forget this whole side of things. So yeah, I think that was really, really valuable. So thank you for that. Again, for everyone who's signed up, you'll be able to access the whole recording online probably within the next 7 days. We'll have it up in the members area, so you'll be able to access that, as well as obviously the slides that are in there, but the whole presentation. as well as some of the other videos that we've previously had from our webinars. So feel free to go into the members area and view all those. And thanks again to the sponsors for this, Teambuildr. Again, please do support our sponsors. They're doing some great work in the industry and have some fantastic software for S&C coaches. So check them out as well. It doesn't look like there's any more questions, Matt. So thank you again. And
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Again soon.
All right. Take care.